Hi guys, this is ArtsyWisdom, and I'm Diane. Thank you for coming by. Today I'm going to touch on some images. My owl spirit came back. It was very beautiful, and I was going to share that with you. I also, somebody had asked me about looking into Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi during that time, and I looked into their images during post-election, and I think this has to do with election auditing and what they did or didn't do post-election, why they didn't do a bunch of legislation or lawsuits to analyze and audit the election. So I looked into that. Hakeem Jeffries is very interesting, and so is Nancy Pelosi, but I was surprised at their goals. Anyway, so I'll tell you about those. And I also wanted to chat. I've just been thinking about our time right now and the chaos that we live in. And my goal on this channel is to help us get through it. And, maybe it's just a selfish thing, but I hope that I'm helping. I also work with individuals, clients that I can guide through hypnotherapy or coaching, clinical hypnotherapists. I also do use astrology and intuitive sensations or readings, sometimes tarot with clients. So all of those tools. And I love doing that. I love helping people. And I hope that I'm doing that. Sometimes, I find that it's really hard to stay out of the feelings of fear and anxiety. And I wanted to be a support for that. And I think that this time that we're living in right now is a lesson for us individually and collectively as our, karma. We continue to fight this hate and drama that bombards us every day. And what it does to the anger in our hearts, how it infuses it. And it feels like it's perverting our hearts to some degree. And I hate to say that, but I feel like it's happening to many people because we are being manipulated by our environment. And it's really hard to avoid that. And it's not healthy. And there are so many bad things occurring right now in the world. So it's hard to, because I think we think it's black or white. We have to ignore it and just hide our heads in the sand and try to stay out of it. Or we get sucked in and we're crying in the corner because it's overwhelmingly scary. But there's something else I'm going to suggest, and I do this just to help me. It's helped me in my life when I deal with really dark stuff, individually, mostly that happens. But I was going to share that with you. I also wanted to suggest how we can find balance when we're loving, when we have people in our life that are, say, they're Republican or they're hardcore MAGA people, and they have really different viewpoints. And I know we've done this for the last 8 or 10 years trying to deal with. I think I realize that my sensation is that we are moving through this as the collective. We're adjusting to this divisive environment and realizing, because it can't continue like this. It can't. Humans are not, we've always had wars and we have tribes and different things, but we cannot continue this divisiveness inside of a country that's supposed to be united. And I don't think we will. I think we are learning to adjust. And again, Pluto is moving through Aquarius and it's moving away from Capricorn. And there's the old guard, the old ways of holding on to power and greed like we always have is it's like his little nails are at the edge of the cliff and it's just holding on. And so it's not going to let go easily. And so the adjustment, we're right in the messy middle right now. So how can you see so much scary stuff like the bullying taking over our norms and what appears to be hateful chants from our MAGA friends, MAGA relatives, whoever that is. How can we avoid not losing our minds. And we see so much possible pain and crying in so many ways that we don't agree with, and we feel powerless. And this could be that channel that we get to our irateness and our anger. That's the path, because we are fearful and powerless, or we feel that way, out of control. And in many respects, there's so many things that we don't directly have power over that seem to be occurring, or that are occurring every day. But remember, the media needs us to watch them for them to sell advertisements, and this includes all news programs. It's really hard to find. I do read Ground News, which is a website, and that 1440 I started reading to try to get things neutral. Neutral is good. All the other stuff is human made to create this drama, and it feels like we're watching a TV show all the time, like drama. Next week, what's we going to see? And it's kind of addicting, really, because you want it to be relieved. You want to go, next time I see it, it's going to get better. Unfortunately, it's not going to be that easy. It will get better, but it's going to be a slow way. It's also like when we're so angry, it's really easy to get like, we want to cheer on the anger. You see other people get angry. You watch other YouTube channels where people are yelling and just furious. It feels really good because it's a way for us to get out. And that goes with everybody. That's not just, Democrats or whoever, independents or anybody. It's the Republicans. It's all, people are really easily triggered right now. I think we've lost track of our center. Like I said, it's a collective consciousness. I'm going to suggest something difficult, and I'm going to try and do it, because this is how I say in my life, I avoid darkness. You guys may have experienced this, where people do bad shit and you don't seem to get in trouble. They always seem to get in trouble, or people associate with them get in trouble, and you're like, why don't, like why am I not a victim, or why hasn't this happened to me? And I believe, this is a theory I have, is I've always had faith, and I've always stayed in the light of what I used to consider Christ consciousness all around me, and believe that I'm protected. And I've always done that. So this is a version of that. You know how I was reminded of Martin Luther King, those quotes that he had, and I looked it up so I could read it to you, that hate only begets more hate. Darkness cannot be cured by more darkness. So this was from his, speech from, where is it from? 1957. Loving Your Enemies. It was from a speech called Loving Your Enemies. He said, returning hate for hate only multiplies hate, adding a deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. It's really hard to stay in that place, though. Really hard. Takes practice. It's like meditation. When you're sitting quietly, and then you can listen to your breath, and you seem good for a few minutes, and all of a sudden my grocery list comes to mind and all the stuff I have to do later, and then I get out of it. I'm in my head again. So you come back to center, listen to your breath. And little by little, you practice that more and more. It becomes second nature, and you get more hardwired for it. So that's all. I'm suggesting that we, with all the anger and the hate and the fear, I mean, as you imagine Washington, D.C. and the fights with the ICE and the now Pam Bondi wants to take over the police commissioner's job, would put in the EPA guy. Now the courts they're suing, Washington, D.C. suing the administration for that. As all of this is occurring, remember that you have choice over your thoughts. You do. You have choice. And this is not a direct route to peace, but it may give you a higher strength if you, within the fight, to be more courageous. And against that stuff, the barrage that comes at you every day. So maybe coming up with a little trigger for yourself. Maybe it's a little talisman, a rock, or something that evokes the feeling. Maybe it's a little angel figurine, or I don't know, picture of a sun, whatever it is. Something that evokes the idea of having faith and staying in the light, raising your vibration to that place. I get raising your vibrations kind of cliche, so I don't always say that. I feel like it's more about staying in a plane that is, I guess it's above, it's raising your vibration, but not getting down in the dirt. It's kind of it's muddy, dirty, filthy stuff, that all that hate and stuff is down there. And it gives the earth a bad name, but I'm not saying dirty meaning earth, but dirty meaning muddy and nasty and just tribal. And it's not healthy and it's not good. So staying above that, looking big picture, staying in the light, staying faith, Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, just the general goodness that the pure love of the oneness is, of the spiritual being that all we can consider God, or the pure love that's all around us. If we have access to that, we know that everything is going to be okay. And it is okay once we decide. And it really, and then you know what's right, knowing that you know you're right and you live in that knowing, and knowing that this will pass. I have no guarantees when it will, but it will. And it cannot continue. And if you stand up in your heart and you live in the place of knowing the truth and the right thing, although MAGA people or Republicans think they believe they're right. So if we keep that in our minds, there are other humans that believe they're right, not about the hate, but about doing the right thing for the United States. If we think of it, there are people that have just been, some of them, manipulated to believe that what they believe is the right thing, because unfortunately there's a cult of Trump and they look to him as their leader. And the Republican Party can't continue like this. They will dissolve or devolve into little areas, little semi parties that have different goals. And I think there's going to be, I don't see a third party happening, although we have independents and libertarians and the Green Party. It's more, I mean, another one that's really strong. I'd love that. I think that would be a good idea, but I don't see that happening right now. But, yeah, knowing that our friends and family believe they're right is one thing. The administration or the powers that be dominating or bullying or taking power where it's illegal, that's another thing. That we can't ignore, and I'm not asking you to ignore it, but I'm also asking you to know what the right thing is to do. And they are not doing the right thing or the good thing for our other humans and humanity and for the United States, because it's about power and greed. Like I said, still hanging on. They're still holding on to it. But it will pass. I think democracy is going to change its form. Democracy will continue. It will just look different. And I think it's going to adjust as we adjust. But the point is, today, what you can do is imagine in your mind's eye this light of faith and knowing of God, whatever that is for you, of our angels and ancestors covering everything, all the homeless being moved, all the people in ICE detention, even the leaders who, like Trump himself and the Republicans, covering them with a light, drowning out that darkness, drowning out that hate. Because, like MLK said, you can't get rid of darkness with more darkness. You're just going to get down in that mud with them. and it's not going to help. But it's hard. It's hard staying in that headspace and that heart space. But it's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy to continue that concern and barrage of negativity. As for the constant news cycles, remember they're there to make money. And I would suggest, as I do, just jump on, catch up briefly. You don't have to read that minute by minute New York Times. They do that on X or whatever it is. Then they're constantly updating this. Trump got off the plane. He's over here and he said this. And he wants to eliminate and he wants to make the 401ks invest in cryptocurrency. Of course, everybody goes, oh my God. But has it happened? No. But we need to be aware. That's good. But we don't need to live in. Yes. So whatever you're doing, remember that you have choice. You have choice. You're not powerless. You have choice over your thoughts and your feelings, especially your thoughts, because your thoughts lead to your feelings. You have choice. You're not powerless, and the fear comes from feeling powerless, or the anxiety comes from feeling powerless. You have a choice to live your life the way you want to right now. The day-to-day activities where you put your mind, positivity, be grateful for your blessings. I know that's cliche, but when you sit and write down what you're grateful for, oh my gosh, does the weight relieve you? It leaves me all the time. I'm like, what am I being so negative for? What am I worrying about this for when I have so many good things? So just an idea. I know I've gone on and on with this, so hopefully that helps. So somebody had asked me about looking into the mystery of the lost colony at Roanoke in North Carolina. And I guess in the late 1500s, they came there from England and started a colony, settled there. And sometime in late 16th century, well, this John White, their leader, went back to England to get supplies. I don't know how many people were in the colony, but he was held back because he didn't get back right away. So it took him 3 years to get back. And when he did get back, it was deserted. And it didn't look like there was any fights or anything. So I think that was 1590. Yeah. So, and then there was this word Croatoan that was carved into a post or a tree there. And so there's always been a mystery about what happened to the village or the colony because it just disappeared. So I'm looking into that. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but I got into the energy of the space there. I kind of went back in time in my mind's eye. The first thing I got was maggots. And that can relate to a lot of things. Maybe they had a lot of, they didn't have food, or it was gone bad or something, or people got sick, or maybe they had passed away and the maggots were taking over. I don't know. But that was the first image I got. So I thought I would share that. Fun times. And I hear, so that also that Croatoan is the tribe nearby there, or was the tribe nearby there. So I got into the energy and I am walking around the space. I have no idea what it looks like. I'm picturing little rough, rustic cabin type shelters, dirt everywhere, obviously, and trees. I think what happened, I think it was a mix of things. I feel like because he didn't come back right away, this John White, and I found that when I swayed a little bit, it kind of got me into the energy. So if I sway, you guys will understand why I haven't been drinking or anything. I feel like they go out of the village or this colony and go that way, which I perceive the water's over here, and they go north then, I guess. But there's also this influx of tribal or native people that pressure them somehow because now they're weak because they don't have as much food or supplies, and people have died or children have died. And it's not like the Pilgrims in whatever it was, 1627, or the winter, that we derive our Thanksgiving story from. It doesn't feel as dire. as that, but it does feel like they were very hungry and not well. Some disease. I know the Europeans supposedly brought the disease to the native people, but there was some other sickness, I think, that happened. And so I see some of the people, like most of them, go north and move to, maybe they think the disease is in the stuff that they're at, where they are. And maybe that has to do with the maggots. But some people, like girls, maybe, and I don't feel like they steal them. I feel like there's like somebody likes each other and they take them to their tribe, like a woman and a young man of this tribe. They hook up and they have and they have a relationship. And that's one or two girls, I think, go into that tribe and then they move that way. I also think, why would they carve that into there? And I feel like it's more of a marker. It's like, this is our territory again. And I feel like it has to do with those girls. Like, they're still, you know, in and out of that relationship between Western or European white man and the native people. And I think they do that to claim it. And it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It merges their worlds. Makes no sense. But I feel like that's kind of part of that whole thing. Like the girls do that, or these women or young, whatever. And then the other option, I know I didn't even read about what the theories are. I'm just telling you what I'm getting because I don't want to get confused. But I do feel like most of them move north. I see a baby and some men, and I don't even know how many people were there, but one or two girls go into the tribal with the group. The other option is, I do feel like something gets pushed into the water. Like, is there a way that they could be pushed into the water to, say, leave, and that forces them, instead of going in the water, they just go up, not upstream, but because it's on the ocean, but go up north. Something like they get forced this way, but instead they go north to get away. But that would mean that they would leave stuff behind. So, and I guess it was deserted. But when I'm in this John White's energy, he doesn't know what's happening. He's confused. And I think I'm sure they've excavated everything. I do feel like there's things that are still buried there that they haven't found, that might have moved with the tide over the years, hurricanes or whatever, that are still buried there. But while he was gone, I don't think there was a big weather thing. Oh, maybe that was with the water. Maybe that has to do with it. Maybe the water came up and they were like, okay, we got to go north because we need higher ground, maybe? Anyway, as they move north, I think very few survive. The girls survive in the tribe because they have they safety in numbers and knowledge about the area, obviously, and food and hunting and that. Maybe as they move north, there might be one or two that survive up that way. But I don't feel like there was a major conflict. I think there probably was conflicts, but not like they just annihilated the little colony. I didn't feel like it was that. It was more like pressure. Pressure because they were hungry and the tribe wanted them out of that area, or they couldn't survive. And so the tribe says, okay, well, we're going to take these girls, or they want to come with us. And they had to leave because there wasn't enough food there. Something like that. I know that's kind of weird, but that's all I got, except for the maggots. I'll be interested in your thoughts or comments on that. Hakeem Jeffries, who I what had a lot of hope for when it came to being the eventual Speaker of the House and the Democratic Party leader at some point. But when I get into his energy, so if you haven't been here before, I get into people's energy, and I feel like I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Like I'm tidying up, I tie, and I'm making sure I look good. And I feel it's very important to how he appears for him. And, I do this remote viewing and I get into people's energies and they change over time and there's free will and things adjust and pivot because that's just because we're all little fractions of light zipping around each other and each one of us affects the other. So one bounces this way, so this one goes that way, and we're all part of this energetic boomerang system of back and forth. So anyway, so when I'm looking at him in the mirror, I see him pulling stuff out of his chest. And this is the period of time post-election, right? I don't know what he's doing. He's pulling all this stuff out of his chest. And it feels like it's stuff that isn't necessary. I think it may be maybe it's sadness or emotion that he doesn't want to deal with. Or maybe he's upset about the election results. Or he doesn't want to display it. That's it. He doesn't want to show it. So I think he feels like if he takes it out, he'll be strong and he won't show any weakness. I think that might be part of this. I'm not sure, but I feel like that's part of it. Then I see him post-election. There's this huge, giant book open, and he is looking to the left and he's signing it. There's something that I think it could be a couple things. Either it's the results and he's signing off on them, or it's about a book he's writing, but it's huge. It's like 1,500 pages. I mean, if you took, maybe it's that big, beautiful bill, but it wasn't. This is post-election. So it's just in that period of time where it's like democratic norms kind of thing. So he's signing this. And I think whoever asked me to look into him was wondering why they didn't push back maybe and ask for more audits during that time. And I think he thinks they did. He feels like I sense that he thinks that they went through all the practical means to do that. And they felt like there was no interference and everything was on the up and up. I know many of you disagree with that. I'm just telling you what he says in this. And I also I'm leaning towards disagreeing with that too. But he's signing some legislation and he's looking to the future. This is the other aspect, which I think he likens himself to the future Obama. I think he wasn't happy with Harris to some way. I don't know what their relationship was. And maybe it was about the election. Maybe he's not happy with how it went or how she dealt with things or how she came across. I don't know. But there's something about him. I think he views her, or maybe he's just disappointed in how she handled things. I don't know. Or the whole election. But he likens himself to the next Obama. He really is. So he's got future on his mind. He is a politician. He really and truly is. I like his, punctuated speech or it's abbreviated or stops syncopated, like Obama's where it stops, my fellow Americans, and then he moves to the next. And it's like that. I feel like he's not exactly like Obama, but I don't know. And when then I see him on about the election still, him with having a hula hoop going round and round, like he's got this hula hoop and he's just, so it's almost like he can't get out of this circle. He can't break out of this way of doing things, maybe this way of regular regular processes. But he doesn't want to either. It's a closed loop. And it's thin, so he could take it off or it could fall down, but he's holding it up. He's he's dancing with this hula hoop and he's going at it. Sorry. And I see that they checked out Nancy Pelosi's coming to mind too. They checked out all of the possibilities. I feel like they think they did. And they didn't find any problems with the election. Because I wonder too, is this some sort of backroom deal thing? But I don't think so. I think they think that it was okay. They're mad about it and how it went, and then I see him, he getting a lot of reports, and then I see him like James Bond, like a silhouette of Daniel Craig running, running with a gun in his hand, and he's running and he's narrow and he's got a suit on, or Sean Connery or somebody, and as James Bond, very direct, moving fast towards me. So that's a very proactive guy, and very direct. And he's pushing the Democrats to now to be more direct. So that's the future that he's trying to move forward, where out of that space of take no prisoners, let's do this, come on guys, kind of thing. And when I looked at Pelosi's energy post-election, I feel like she's in a soft bubble now. She doesn't feel that, I mean, she's always so driven, and she's 82 or whatever she is, but at the time she was on it. She was on it. But now she's backed off. And she's told me that there's so many staffers, so many people in the government that are really following the Constitution. So she's saying, don't worry, there's so many, it's such a deep well of staff and people that are going to do the right thing. So she gave me that sense of it's going to be okay, because it's not just those people on top. It's all of these people are going to do the right thing. They took an oath to the Constitution, and they're going to do that. So she's told me there's a ton of people like that. Just we don't see them. So there's that. And protecting the Constitution. And somebody had asked me about why Christopher Wray didn't do anything, or what Merrick Garland. I just saw Christopher Wray. Whenever I've seen him testify in the Senate hearings, he just seems very diplomatic, very Ivy League. I know he's super wealthy. And he's like, maybe he's happy to be out of it. I do feel like him giving speeches, writing books, I feel like he's totally going to be doing that, making more money. And he's all kind of hedge fund guys that he's friends with. He's going to make all kinds of money. But I don't think he felt like he did anything wrong. I feel like he did everything right. Would he have done things? Would he have made a corrupt decision? You know what? It's possible that he didn't want to hear things. It was like, if you guys know this, I don't want to know about it because I don't want to have to lie. There's that. I feel like there's some people that knew stuff at the FBI that was happening that he needed to stay separate from. Layers of knowledge. That's very interesting. But I don't think he necessarily, I think if it was like in his face going, okay, this bad thing is happening, he would call everybody on it. It wasn't that. It was more Russian stuff, or Republicans doing cheaty things somewhere. It's not obvious. And he didn't know, or he didn't know because nobody told him, but he avoided being told. And then the other thing somebody asked me was Merrick Garland. You know what? When I got into his energy, he was regretful. He feels like he should have did more. He sees now. But at the time, he was very by the book kind of guy, very old school, obviously. And he's like Robert Mueller that way, where those are the rules. We follow the rules. This is law. And they took an oath as well to tell the truth. And obey the Constitution. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of people that are abusing their oath and cheating. So, but he at this point regrets not, he doesn't know what he could have done specifically, but there are things he could have investigated more. Like he didn't rush to do anything against Trump, it seemed like, in that whole period of time when Biden was in power. And that was the most frustrating thing. He moved at the speed of molasses. But because of some old pledge to not change the political environment during an election cycle or whatever it was, I think he was also avoiding any drama. Doesn't like drama. Really doesn't like conflict. I think that was the other thing. He was really avoiding it. And he felt like he would become a target. Better off if he was a Supreme Court justice. That was his better job, but yeah. To do the owl spirit, I need to share with you guys what I got from him. Water is warm. I'm still in the water. It's so warm, and it feels like if I was in the Caribbean or Hawaii. Been to neither, or neither, either. But in front of me, okay, the island of misfit toys over here with the Republicans. They're milling about. I think it's because they're on break. They're all having little powwows in their little corners. But he's in the middle. Trump is here. And I see this peninsula kind of this piece of land coming towards me. And it's kind of always been there, but I've never really mentioned it because I just realized. I was like, oh, yeah, I never talked about there was a piece of land that separated all of this rest of the world, which I think we've determined that's what it is. All these people on boats that are going towards this Golden City, this future Emerald City, whatever it is, shining city on the hill, in these boats that are all like, like I said, like fishermen in Asia kind of boats, what do they call those boats? I don't know. I don't remember, but they're all moving, but everything is fine. It's gentle. And I know this has nothing to do with tariffs and Canada or anything like that, but this is the world in general. They're living, they're going, they're trying to do their best and make it good for everybody. It's not perfect, but they're doing that. And there's a lot of them. And we've got our little Republican group over here in the sand on the island. And Trump, is to the left of this peninsula. So here's a peninsula. Look right straight at you. Well, on your angle, it would be the opposite. So he'd be over here. But I'm in this water. I'm far away. But as I approach him, I'm going to talk to him. And he seems like he's got Pam Bondi behind him, then he's got Kash Patel, and he's got J.D. Vance, who's much farther away because he needs to make himself separate because one day he'll probably run for president or be president or something, and he wants to gather the MAGA people without, I don't know, denying his boss. So I see Trump and I'm talking to him and he's like talking to me like regular, like, yeah, I'm doing all these things and it's great. And he's very low key. He's not intense and angry and blowing up like he normally is and hyperbolic and lying through his, well, he always lies every time he opens his mouth, but he looks like, here's the peninsula. So instead of going around the peninsula to the rest of the world, he goes to the left before the peninsula, like he's going to turn left. So but he seems confused. He seems a little bit off. I relate this to them constantly giving him the numbers that are too high, the polls that are too wrong, exaggerating everything, and then he double exaggerates everything or triple exaggerates everything. But it's different than that. He's confused. It's like somebody can't go into the right door, like, oh, this isn't the right door. So he goes to the next one. He's going to the left and moving before he gets to the rest of the world. I'm wondering if this signifies him leaving our view. And then I saw our big owl buddy, our owl spirit, and he's huge. And he's over everything. And he says we need to not ignore the darkness, but to, like I said in the previous segment, spread that light over his head, Donald Trump and all of them. Spread that light because they cannot, it's like, what is it? A vampire with the sunlight? It's like that. The light just burns them. So it's like that feeling of, oh, you spread the light over everything and it illuminates everything. And it's very transparent. But his wings go over and I see him like brush, kind of like Archangel Michael did that one time. I can hear the feathers rustling over the top of his head. Just enough to get that comb over. A little tiny bit messed up. The feeling is that he's already gone. Like Trump is already here. He's already moved on. Like it's a sequence of events that's already begun. And it's like a mental thing. Yeah. Some people have said that he'd be out by September or sick or whatever. I don't know. But I guess if we're in August, something happens at the end of the year. I think I told you guys that already. I don't know if it's related to him or change of guard or something like that. But something comes out, something big happens. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the Epstein files. Anyway, I think he's overwhelmed. I think so he's not going to join the rest of the world. But all these other people they won't know what to do. I know they think they do, but they will disperse and eat each other. Owl spirit. The water's warm, so it feels really good. This is good. The rest of the world feels good. So this just little group of ne'er-do-wells over here with the red ties on. Anyway, just thought I would share very interesting information. And the Allspirit says we just stay in the belief, stay in the light, and fight for what you believe and live in that knowing that it can't stay like this, in this form anyway. So much goodness out there. There's so much goodness out there. Okay, there you go. Hope that helps you in some way, shape, or form. I love that you came by. Continue to comment and give me ideas. I really appreciate it. And I've got a couple little things going on, but I should be on this weekend. And it's cooler up here. Very cool. I'm sorry to all my friends in Phoenix, who are roasting, but it's nice and cool up here. In fact, we had to start a fire this morning. So, all right, you guys, take care till next time.